Hello, so in 1300B, in this concept, we will be learning how to simplify expressions with zero exponents using properties of exponents. So in 1300A, you learned how to use the exponent properties of product, quotient, and power. Today, in 1300B, you will learn how to use the zero exponent property. Okay, again, just a reminder, exponential form, okay, is when you rewrite the exponential form using positive exponents. Okay, evaluating an exponent term is rewriting the exponential term as a number value, and this was covered in 1300A. Okay, so again, today we're going to focus on the zero property of exponents. So in this property, you will learn that when you are raising any term except for zero to the zero power, the result is going to be the number 1. Okay, so anytime you have an exponent that's raised to the zero except for the number 0 itself, so your answer will always be 1. So for example, 3 to the 0 is going to be 1. X to the 0 will be 1. So those are kind of just general examples. All right, so let's look at more specific examples right here. Okay. Hold on, let me just make my pen a little smaller so I can write a little better. Okay, great. So if you look here in these examples, so example A, it says 2xy to the 0 power. So of course 2 and x don't have any exponents, which means they are raised to the 1 power. So 2 is really raised to the 1, right? And then x is also raised to the 1 power. Okay, so 2 to the 1 power is just 2. X to the 1 power is just x, but notice how y is raised to the 0. And from the zero property, we know that any term raised to the 0 will always be 1. So y to the 0 power will give us 1. So now I'm going to just simplify this one a little bit. So if you have 2 times x times 1, of course you're going to need to do the coefficients. 2 times the 1, which is 2, and then x. So 2 times x times 1 is just 2x. Now let's look at example B. Example B, you have 3 over h to the 0. So 3 is not raised to anything, which really means it's raised to the 1, right? So 3 to the 1 power is just 3. H to the 0 power, again, anything raised to the 0 is always going to give us a 1. And I can simplify this one. 3 divided by 1 is just 3. Let's look at C. Example C, we have 5 r to the 2nd power, t to the 0 power, and everything is over 3. So 5 will stay, r to the 2nd will stay as r to the 2nd, t to the 0, again, t is the only thing that's raised to the 0 power, so t to the 0 will become a 1, because again, anything raised to the 0 is always going to be 1. And everything will be over a 3. I can simplify this a little bit more. 5 times 1 is just 5, right? I'm timesing this one here and this. R squared stays as such, and that will be over 3. I can't really reduce 5/3, the fraction piece of it, so this here will be my final answer. Okay? Okay. Now that you've learned about how to use the zero property, I would like for you to go ahead and pause this video and complete this independent practice on your own. Once you are finished, then you can unpause the video and check your answers with mine. Welcome back. Okay, so in this independent practice, it says use the properties of exponents to simplify. Number 1 says y to the 0 power. So I have one term raised to the 0. Again, anything raised to the 0 gives me 1. So y to the 0 is just 1, and I'm done with this problem. Number 2, I have 3ab to the 0. So notice that only b is raised to the 0. So the 3a will stay as such. 3a, b to the 0, we know, will give us a 1. So now I'm going to go ahead and times the 3 and the 1. So 3 times 1 is 3, and then just bring down the a. So it's 3a. Number 3, we have 7x to the 0, y to the second over 14. So with this one, really the only term that's raised to the 0 is the x, right? So we know that this right here, x to the 0, will give us a 1. Okay, so I still have 7, I have the 1, and I have y to the second over 14. 7 times 1 is 7, so on my numerator, I'm going to have 7y to the second, and my denominator, I'm going to have 14. I can simplify this a little more because 7 over 14, 7 and 14 have 7. You can divide both sides by 7, right? You can reduce them by 7. So 7 divided by 7 becomes a 1. 14 divided by 7 is a 2. So now you have 1 y to the second over 2. You don't really need to write the 1, a coefficient of 1. You don't need to do that. So your final answer for this one would just be y to the second over 2. And that's your final answer. Okay? Number 4. In number 4, notice how you have these parentheses, and everything inside the parentheses is raised to a 0. So, though this kind of looks intimidating, looking at this problem, because everything here is raised to the 0, we know that the answer will be 1. So, 1. Number 5, you have 5 over j to the 0. 5 is 5. J to the 0 will give us a 1. 5 over 1, I can simplify that to just a 5. This here is my final answer. Number 6. So if you look here with me on number 6, notice that you have 24x to the third, y to the fifth, over 6x to the third. So if I break this problem down a little bit, okay, basically I have 24 over 6. I have x to the third over x to the third, and then I have y to the fifth. And if you want to make it over 1, you can. So this fraction, just like any other fraction, if you had 24 over 6, you could reduce both sides by 6. So 24 divided by 6 is 4. 6 divided by 6 is a 1. So now this fraction becomes 4 over 1. X to the third over x to the third, this would be something you learned in 1300A, where when you have the same base and you're dividing, you end up actually subtracting the exponents, right? So that really is x to the third minus this 3, right? You end up subtracting them. So x to the third minus 3 gives us 3 minus 3 is 0, so it's x to the 0. And of course, anything raised to the 0 is just going to be a 1. So all of this here will end up being just a 1. Y to the fifth over 1, I can't do anything to it, so I'm finished. Okay, so at this point, I have on the top, on the numerator, I have a 4. I have times a 1, and then I have y to the fifth. On the denominator, I have a 1 here. This one, you can make it over 1. So really, you have a 1 times the 1 for that 1 here is just 1 over 1, right? And then this one right here. So you have 4 times 1, which is 4, y to the fifth, over 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. So at this point, you have 4y to the fifth over 1, but really to simplify it, you don't need to make something over 1. So this here is your final answer. Okay, so 4y to the fifth is your final answer for this one. Okay, awesome. Now that we've finished this video, please go ahead and complete 1300 Essential Teacher Talk, and before you can move on to Math Excel and then of course your quiz. All right, thank you.